drum beating down kinda like a drum. Look how I do it. Look at me, look at me, look at me splash. Look at me, look at me, look at me splash.
I'm Kevin Shaw, and you're watching the Watercraft Journal.
I hate doing these things, but you keep asking for them. So here we are again, doing another shootout between two skis that have nothing to do with each other. But thankfully, we had a really good time here at the Fall Mudbug. It is Saturday evening. Actually, the sun's starting to go down. But we're here with Greg Gaddis of Greenhulk. So say hi, Greg.
Hey.
Yeah, he didn't think I was actually rolling, but I really am. Well, we have two really fun Halloween-themed jet skis, our black and orange. Yeah. We really actually had a lot of fun, surprisingly, for being two naturally aspirated skis. We racked up 10 hours today and like 11 hours yesterday of riding, so we put some good hours in. And let's tell you about the skis we got. So on my left, we have the 2023 Kawasaki LX-S Ultra 160. And really a lot of fun. Basically, it's everything that the other Ultra is except for supercharged. And on my right, we have the 2023 GTX 170. It is not a limited, it is the entry level of the GTX, and really is a really fantastic starter for a full-size three-seater. The only option that we have on this ski is that it did come with the BRP Premium Audio. It didn't even have the USB charger in it. It really was just one option. We really put these through the paces. We really had a lot of fun. We really tried to keep up with a lot of supercharged skis. Had a diversity of water. I mean, we had some chop, nothing really crazy, but had some wind this morning. And besides that, we were really able to put these guys through the paces. We swapped both days. We were able to go back and forth with both of these machines and able to take a really good assessment of both. So the Sea-Doo comes in a little bit more affordable at $15,199 MSRP, and the 2023 Kawasaki comes in at $16,299. So it's a difference of $1,100. Unfortunately, the Cowie jumped up for 2024 a whole other $900, and that really makes quite a difference between the two machines at $2,000. So that is something to account for. I think not very many people are going to be able to find anything listed for 2023 prices. You're kind of stuck with the 24 prices. Some more numbers is we wanted to compare these two machines by curb weight. Sea-Doo on their website lists what they call dry weight, and dry weight means no oil, no gas. Because it is a closed loop system, that means no coolant. That also means no battery. Kawasaki includes everything, and so that's their curb weight. So when you calculate that, that puts the Sea-Doo at just a hair over 900.
Yep, 901 pounds.
901 pounds. And the Cowie comes in at 963 and a half. And that is surprisingly not that much of a difference.
Yeah.
We were kind of thinking it was going to be a lot more. So that's not too bad, especially when you consider the fact that the Kawasaki is still running FMC hand-laid fiberglass and gel coat, which is still the toughest, most durable, repairable stuff there is.
Yeah.
And the Sea-Doos are running acrylic with chopped up liquefied fiberglass, and they call that CM Tech. That's important to note because Sea-Doos do not have a single drop of paint on them. They're entirely acrylic. This is acrylic, this is acrylic, and the rest of this is plastic. So you're not gonna see a single drop of paint. Even the engine is powder coated. There is no paint on your Sea-Doo. But if you do have an impact, you do have a small collision or a chip, or you need to make any sort of repair, you do want to use more of an automotive process. You're going to use an epoxy, like a build-up epoxy, and then you're going to have to paint over it to blend it all in. And that does get to be a little pricey and a little problematic, because you want to find someone who's able to do that, and it's not going to be your traditional boat guy. It's going to be more of an automotive guy. But when you have gel coat and fiberglass, any boat shop can do it, and it's done pretty quickly. That and gloss black gel coat blends beautifully.
You could actually fix it in your driveway.
You really can fix it in your driveway.
West Marine, get some black gel coat, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it'll blend. You literally just take like some 300 grit wet sand and it'll blend in so nice. So again, we kind of have to give Cowie a little bit of an edge on that. A couple features on these machines that do make them similar, as well as features that do make them a little bit unique. The Kawasaki comes standard with their TFT dashboard. It's just shy of 8 inches. And that is a full color dashboard that's operated through a turn dial toggle. They call it a jog dial. That dial does allow you to start scrolling through screens. And because this is the LXS, it does have the Ultra deck and it does have the reverse facing camera. You can zoom in 3 different times on that zoom camera. This is really the ski that would be ideal for towing the kids on a raft or maybe even a wake skater or a wakeboarder. Other things to include on the Kawasaki that are nice, standard, you have a nice 5-way adjustable tilt steering. This works out really nice. You have integrated cup holders that are actually nice and deep. I've never had a cup or a bottle bounce out of it, even with really rough water. The seats are a nice tactile 2-tone seat that have a strap on it, as do the Sea-Doo seats. They do have a strap, and it's a nice 3-tiered seat on the GTX. It's a little bit more pronounced as being a 3-seater compared to the Kawasaki. You just have like this little middle hump, and then you have a larger rear, and of course a larger drivers. Other things to note, of course, would be is that both are really comfortable to ride.
Yeah, they are. Ergonomically, I definitely prefer the Sea-Doo.
Yeah.
Everything just fits better. If you really wanted to, your knees are almost pretty much directly in front of you.
Right.
The Sea-Doo is fantastic, but the Kawasaki is a close second. What I think really makes the Kawasaki nice ergonomically is the 3-position adjustable seating. This is unfortunately not equipped with that, but it's not too complicated to fix that.
Right.
Go to your dealer, spend a few $100, get the attachment, and I would say they're pretty much even at that point.
Right, yeah. That's one of the neat things is that it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure when it comes to the Kawasaki's. Is even though you might buy an LXS, you can equip it with all the LX stuff, like the 3-way adjustable seat. Like the Kawasaki, you also have tilt steering on the Sea-Doo. You have 4 points of adjustment. But one of my favorite things is that the gauge cluster actually moves with the entire steering neck, which I really like. So if you're standing up, you can look down, you'll see the gauge cluster very nice and clear. The security systems for both, Sea-Doo has their lanyard that attaches right underneath the handlebars. Kawasaki uses a traditional lanyard with a start switch, and they also use the immobilizer key, which has been relocated from inside the glove box to the handlebars. All right, so next topic that we want to talk about is, of course, storage. Being 2 full-size machines, you're gonna bring a lot of stuff with you. Sea-Doo, of course, was the first to come out with their center storage. 2 heavy-duty plastic latches. The whole top deck opens up. You get 26.1 gallons of storage. Part of that 26.1 is you also have this itty-bitty little glove box, and the glove box does have a waterproof phone case in it. 2 latches, opens up. That phone case does leave a little bit to be desired, only because a lot of cell phones are getting really big these days. And the larger, like the 14 iPhone and the 15 iPhones, if you have like the big guys, like the pros, they're not gonna fit. They're gonna get real tight. The Kawasaki, on the other hand, comes in at 44.5 gallons, which is almost 1.5 times the storage. You have your traditional bow storage. The bow storage opening has been a topic of discussion that we've had on the channel exhaustively. Kawasaki stands on the premise that most people will put things in the front storage that they won't readily want to access throughout the day. That being said, the opening itself is incredibly tight. You're not going to be able to put a helmet in there, even a camera bag. You struggled with a cooler bag.
Yep. Yeah, you really had to squeeze that bag just to get it to go down into the opening. It's tight, so anything big is. It's not that the storage is small,
right.
It's just the opening's so small you're not getting it in there.
Right. So you got to force that thing in there and it will plop in pretty nicely. But that bow storage is a little bit of a chore to lean over, double over the bars and access it, especially if you're out on the water and you got to get something out of the front. To remedy that, Kawasaki came out with their side storage, their fairing storage. I've been calling it a horseshoe because in fact, it does go all the way around. I want to hand myself something. Oh, here's Greg's wallet. There.
It's not very fat.
No. There's Greg's wallet. So you can see I'm not doing any magic tricks. It does go all the way through, and it is, I think it's just a hair over 10 gallons of storage. That's pretty sizable. You're gonna shove sunscreen in there, maybe a bottle of water. I carry all my GoPros in there, and to be honest, there is a nice lip that keeps it from bouncing out, and I've accessed that door at speed and pulled out GoPros with no problem. So I kind of have to give it to Kawasaki on that one. When the center storage is clever, it's something unique. I'm glad they thought of something that's different than everyone else. You do have your watertight phone storage that is here. The cubby is a little bit deeper than the Sea-Doos. I do not think it's any wider.
We were actually able to fit 2 iPhones in there.
Oh, really?
Could not fit 2 iPhones in there.
Okay, well that's great.
Yeah, we fit 2 iPhones in there with a little extra stuff on
Okay.
top of that. So it's definitely big.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then I am happily corrected, and that's good news. The other thing I really like, and this is something that is more of a fit and finish, is Kawasaki has, I'm just gonna demonstrate it. Let me pull this up. Just listen to the click. That sounds like a car door. And they have the same locking mechanisms for the front. Close really nice, have a very good locking feel, and there's no chatter. That's one of the best things. Now, don't get me wrong, the Sea-Doo does lock very nice, and you're not gonna get the chatter and the rattling that you might get on, say, like a lighter Yamaha. The Kawi, of course, feels very stout, feels very heavy and robust. The Sea-Doo doesn't feel as kind of heavy, but it does have a nice solid feel to it. So both machines do have a very good quality feel to it, and that's, I understand that's kind of an emotional answer, but I think a lot of people will sit on one and go, oh, this thing doesn't flex, it doesn't bow, it's not chattering, this must be a well-built machine. Okay, so a couple more things. Fuel capacity, what are we looking at with Sea-Doo?
18.5 gallons.
18.5 gallons, Kawi's at
21.1.
21.1. Okay, so considerably more. We ran these things pretty stinking dry today.
Or we were told that they were dry.
Right. You were on the buzzer.
Yeah.
But how many bars did you have left?
None.
You had no bars.
Yeah, the buzzer was on for a mile.
Okay.
We filled it back up, and it only put 15 gallons back in it.
Out of a 21-gallon tank.
Right. So there was still 6 gallons left.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
A, you're not going to burn up your fuel pump.
Right.
B, even if you think you're screwed, you're not really screwed.
Right.
So that's not too bad. I came in with 0 bars and took just under 17 gallons.
Okay.
So I think I had maybe 1.25 gallons left. That really speaks volumes in the world of Yamaha and people saying, oh, hey, you know, I don't know what my real fuel gauge is like and I don't know what it's reading. In this case, the fuel gauge was really on the money.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with that. The countdown meter was really good. It said, okay, you've got 22 miles, you got 18 miles, and it did a really good job with the countdown on the standard dash. So I'm very happy with that. Did you toggle through the dash at all on the Kawi?
Yeah, I played through it. The only way I knew how to put it in full power mode was to go through it, go in the settings.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was a thing on the handlebars.
On the mode right there.
Mode button? Okay.
Okay.
So I went through it that way. The first time I used the system, I hated it. I thought it was unresponsive.
Okay.
And, figuring out the tricks as to how it works, much more pleasant experience.
Oh, good.
Holding down the buttons instead of just tapping it.
Right.
It comes up like I expect it to. And so I was more pleased with the entire infotainment system versus a year ago when I rode the 310.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about interface. Let's talk about the buttons on the dashboard. So Sea-Doo buttons I've been very happy with. I did have a chance to mess with IDF just for fun, and it worked out fine. You have the ski off, you hit IDF, it gives you the prompts of what to do, apply throttle, you're gonna goose the throttle, it's gonna go through the cycle, and then it's gonna turn off. you start your ski up and you go on your way. IDF worked fine. It didn't give me any grief. Again, it's a 170 model. I think I was just spitting out some sand and mud. That was all, you know, and that was after the sandbar. But the toggles are these nice diamond patterns. They are very easy to navigate. I was able to fix our clock because apparently we're on military time from like Nova Scotia. It was like 3 hours ahead. So I was able to fix the clock. The Cowie buttons, the one thing about the Cowie buttons I really like is that there's an audible click. So not only do you hear it, if you can hear it, but you also feel that click through your hands. So you really do know if you're pushing the button or not, and you are seeing response. So that is really rewarding, especially if you're not looking down watching your trim and you're toggling the trim, you know that you're actually making something happen, which is nice. That's one of the better features. Okay, no wake mode's very easy to operate. Simply hold down the center button on the cruise control toggles and it'll give you a prompt for low speed mode, and you can bump it up, bump it down, however way you choose. Trim, of course, you mess with trim. Was trim responsive at all?
Yeah, a little bit. It didn't really make a difference. Trimmed all the way up or all the way down, it still behaved similarly.
Right.
When you compare it to a different watercraft that may be a little smaller, where trim makes a very noticeable difference. Right. So it's not that the trim doesn't work. It's just, it's not as dependent on trim as a smaller watercraft.
I would agree. I would agree. Now, to that effect, I will say the Sea-Doo is responsive if you're trying to get that bow out of the water. And we were in some rough stuff, or even going through some really narrow channels and just up and down the trails. I would trim down to get the nose in and then bring it back up to full speed.
You have to trim it down on Sea-Doo in a turn.
Oh yeah.
You almost have to.
Oh yeah. Especially because the GTX doesn't have like the X series sponsons in it.
Yeah.
It's just bald tires in the rain, man. It's it's really slick back there. Yeah. So let's do one last thing. We're going to talk a little bit about cargo and rear storage. Since Sea-Doo introduced the Link system, I think everyone's been trying to catch up a little bit on how an accessory system could work on a watercraft. I still have to give it to Sea-Doo. Link is so basic and so easy to use, and it's universal. Even with the Ultra deck, I really struggled with even using their rack system. They supplied me with a rack. It was so cumbersome that I chose not to even bring it today or this weekend. I just felt that it was more of a detriment than really a benefit. The other thing is both of these machines do come standard with a folding swim step. So that is not something you have to order extra or attach yourself.
Both of these now have a electronic reverse or decelerator. Sea-Doo calls it a brake. Kawasaki is not technically a brake, even though it will decelerate you, but they operate very differently from each other.
Yes.
Sea-Doo, you have a left gear selector.
Correct.
Because it puts you in forward, neutral, or reverse, and your right-hand side is the throttle, so you have to have two hands on the bars. Kawasaki, obviously on the right side, you have your forward, and with your finger, and you have a thumb control on the bottom to go into reverse or to brake, and sure, it works great, but the responsiveness is just not there.
No.
You really got to prepare ahead of time and think about what you're doing, because there is a noticeable lag, especially when transitioning to reverse. If you're not prepared for it, you will be in a bind, you will hit a dot, you will hit someone else's ski, and worst case scenario, if you do rely on it as your brake, which I do not recommend anyone do, you can hit something.
Right. 100% agree. If you are relying upon a brake to decelerate, you need more seat time on your watercraft.
Yeah, and that goes for all manufacturers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't care if it's a Sea-Doo or a Yamaha that has a very nice braking system and it's responsive. Do not put yourself in a situation where you have to rely on a brake.
So lastly, obviously the Sea-Doo is coming in slightly larger with 1630 cc's, making 170 horse. You can run 87 octane. I typically run the premium stuff on everything, and that's just because I want superior engine performance. The Kawasaki comes in at a 1.5 liter. It's 1,498 cc's. It's the same engine that we've been seeing since 2004. and it is producing 160 horsepower, naturally aspirated. Again, will run on 87 octane. So you guys who are trying to save every penny you can run the cheap stuff if you so choose. I wouldn't do it. Power delivery is a little bit sharper on the Sea-Doo. Thankfully, both machines do have a series of driving modes. You have a low mode, a middle, or touring mode. On the Sea-Doo, it's touring. On the Cowie, it's low or medium mode. That's what you start off in. That's your default. And you can toggle into full mode on the Cowie or sport mode on the Sea-Doo. That does not give you more horsepower. It does not give you more top speed. It just increases the curve. It increases the timing curve a little bit, and so you're going to get out of the hole just a little bit quicker. The Sea-Doo, as it stands, does not have launch control. The Kawasaki does. If you so choose to use launch control on this machine, it's not going to set your hair on fire. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. Overall, I think the biggest takeaway for both of us was just how these skis feel. Because again, we're not talking top speed. Top speed on the Sea-Doo, what'd you get?
55 on the dash, 56 if we were lucky. And that's two people riding it.
Right, at 8,000 RPM. I was seeing 8 grand.
Kawasaki, I actually saw a best of 54 on the dash.
You saw 54,
Yeah.
okay. I saw.
Most of the day it was 52.
Okay, yes.
Maybe 53.
Right. I was averaging 53. Again, I had my daughter with me. It was about 7650, 7750 RPM. They're both comfortable skis, both naturally aspirated. So it's not about high horsepower, it's not about top speed. We really got to spend time on just general riding characteristics. I had more fun on the Cowie.
Yeah.
I had more fun on the Cowie. And I don't know if that's because it has a natural inside lean and that we could lean together going through the turns. I don't know if it was the fact that I have a lot of seat time on this hull. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of seat time on this hull, but I have a lot of seat time on a proven hull for a long time. And going through chop, going through a little bit of waves, a little bit of, obviously we had a lot of the wakes of a big group, so you're sluicing through the wakes of a lot of different skis. The Cowie did it just a little bit more naturally. I felt like I was wrestling the Sea-Doo, but I wanted to get your take because I had a 7-year-old little girl with me. You had a full-grown adult with you.
Right. I had way more fun on that one, and it's because I was far more paranoid on this one.
Oh.
Because when you're in a group of people like this, the way this hull behaves in the cross chop, it's not predictable.
True.
You can't relax like you can on the Kawasaki because you know it's going to do what you tell it to do. If you're not paying attention, you're going to get pushed into the next guy.
A Sea-Doo doesn't want you to put your body English over the side and roll into a turn. It wants you to stay very planted with your knees in. You kind of, ergo lock. You want to lock them in. So you're staying very rigid and you're very much in place and you're just controlling the handlebars. And I felt like I was more actively engaged with the Kawasaki. And the more I moved, the more it responded.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I'm a little bit more man and machine here than just sit down and shut up and I'll do the rest of the work.
Right. It doesn't respond to body English like that does.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Because on flat water, calm like this, you're out by yourself or maybe another rider, it's actually a pleasant experience, but you go through these tight turns or you're in the back of a pack of 60 people, it's not fun. It's almost draining.
If Dad wants something a little sportier, I'd say Cowie. Yeah. If Mom wants something a little bit drier, I'd say Sea-Doo. If you're looking for something really good for tow sports, both can tow fine. But this one has the reverse-facing camera. You're going to be able to see the kid on the raft. So I'd give it to the Cowie. But if you're going to do tow sports, Sea-Doo literally makes a towing vehicle, and that's not going to be the GTX. So between these two machines, I really can't say one is so demonstrably better than the other. I think Greg and I's takeaway on these is going to be more of the Kawasaki So do you think the Kawasaki is worth the extra 900 bucks?
Me personally, I would pay the extra 900 bucks for that one.
Yeah.
Just because it fits me more in what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, you really got to take away at the end of the day. You got to ask yourself, what are you going to be doing on this watercraft? And you got to pick the watercraft for that job.
I agree.
For me, that one fits that what I want to do better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad that we were able to spend Mudbug, another fall Mudbug. As the sun starts to go down, we're able to wrap this one up. Greg, where can we find you? Tell the good people where they can hunt you down.
You can go to our greenhulk.net Facebook page, join our greenhulk.net Facebook group. And if you have any sales questions or install questions or whatever that may be, you can email us at sales@greenhulkstore.com. And you can also go to greenhulk.net, where you can visit the world's largest PWC performance forum and visit our online store.
So guys, thanks again for sticking around all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, maybe share it with your friends, help us grow the channel. If you want more awesome jet ski content, please go check us out at www.watercraftjournal.com, where new articles are written and published every single day, Monday through Friday, entirely subscription free to you. See you there.